All right, so let's dive into this world that you brought us. This world where gods can be enslaved and bloodlines hold this incredible power. We're talking about the Inheritance trilogy.
Yeah.
And specifically, the excerpts that you've shared with us that focus on the dynamics of power and what it even means to be a god or a mortal for that.
You know what strikes me right away is how this world flipped gripped on like typical fantasy.
Okay.
Instead of mortals seeking divine power, we have the Arameri family holding the reins, controlling those very gods.
Okay, so the Arameri are this all-powerful family.
Yes.
But what makes them so different?
Right.
How do they manage to pull this off?
Well, you included some details on the blood sigil,
this
permanent mark that is worn by the Arameri. It's more than just a status symbol. It seems to be the source of their power.
Okay.
And it also reveals this rigid hierarchy within the family itself.
You're right. Like with Tevril, even though he's Arameri, he's kind of pushed aside because his parents weren't married.
Exactly.
And then there's Decarda. The way that he treats those servants, it's chilling.
It's brutal.
You get the feeling that power for the Arameri is about control.
Control, absolutely.
About maintaining their position at any cost.
At any cost.
Do you think that fear of losing control?
I think so.
Is at the heart of their ruthlessness?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
And their treatment of Yen, the protagonist, adds another layer to this. Okay. She's both Arameri and Enifade, making her a potential threat to their power structure.
So Yen, she's at the center of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Her dual heritage, Arameri and Enifade, makes her both powerful and vulnerable.
Absolutely.
You pointed out the excerpts about the Dare ceremony.
Yeah.
Something that seems deeply connected to her and Enifade side. And then there's the fact that she carries two souls.
Right.
Hers and Nephis, the enslaved goddess.
Imagine what that must be like to have this constant internal struggle.
Right.
It's not just about having cool powers.
Right.
It's about a battle for control for her very identity.
Yeah.
What did you find most compelling about this aspect of Yen's character?
For me, it's the question of how much control she actually has.
Okay.
Is she truly in charge of her own destiny, or are those two souls constantly vying for dominance?
That's a great question.
And speaking of the Enifade,
yes,
they add a whole other layer of complexity to this world. They were once this powerful race connected to Enefa.
Right.
But now they're enslaved by the Arameri. What's their relationship with Yen like?
The excerpts show that the Enifade really respect Yen.
Okay.
They revere her heritage and recognize the power she possesses. They see her as a potential ally, someone who can help them break free from the Arameri.
So there's this underlying tension between the Enifade and the Arameri, right?
Well, absolutely.
And it all goes back to this devastating God's War, which left deep scars. Did you find any hints about what actually happened during that?
There are scattered memories and accounts.
Right.
But the full story remains shrouded in mystery.
Okay.
It's clear that the Enifade haven't forgotten the Arameri's role in their downfall.
Right.
And they're waiting for the right moment to strike back.
Okay.
But now let's shift our focus to the gods themselves.
Okay.
They're not the typical all-powerful, benevolent beings we often see in fantasy.
Yeah, they seem much more human flawed and deeply entangled with mortal affairs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You mentioned Nadath the Night Lord.
Right.
He's definitely not your average god.
No, he's complex, manipulative, still heartbroken over the loss of Anefa, and fiercely resentful of Itempus the Bright Lord.
Okay.
It's as if he's stuck in this cycle of grief and anger, unable to move on.
It's interesting that you bring up Itempus.
Yeah.
He seems to be this enigmatic figure shrouded in ambiguity.
His actions during and after the Gods' War raise more questions than answers.
Right.
Is he really the good guy?
Yeah.
He's often portrayed as.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And one that the trilogy seems to be grappling with.
Okay.
And then we have Sieh, the god of childhood.
Right.
He represents a stark contrast to Nadath.
Yeah. He seems gentler, more protective, especially of Yen.
Yes.
And his relationship with his mother, Anefa, is fascinating.
It's really interesting.
Remember that detail that you highlighted, how she almost killed him shortly after he was born?
Oh, yeah.
It makes you wonder about the nature of their bond.
It definitely challenges our assumptions about motherly love.
Yeah.
But before we dive deeper into their relationship, let's take a step back and look at the creation myth you shared.
Okay.
The idea of the maelstrom as this chaotic origin point giving birth to the first gods, it sets the stage for this eternal struggle between chaos and order.
And where does the City of Shadow fit into all? Well,
you mentioned it's a fascinating and dangerous place located within the World Tree.
Shadow is like a microcosm of this world, a melting pot of different groups, mortals and godlings, all trained to survive and navigate these complex power dynamics.
Okay.
We get a glimpse into this world through the eyes of Ori Shoth, a blind artist living in shadow.
Oh, yes. Ori.
Yeah.
Her story is captivating.
It is.
She's a Morona, and there seems to be a lot of prejudice against her people.
Right.
Especially after the Gods' War.
Absolutely.
And she's surrounded by danger, both from mortals and godlings.
From all sides.
Her experiences really highlight the challenges of surviving in this world.
Yeah.
Especially for those who possess magic.
Right.
And she's not just a passive observer.
No, she's not.
She's caught in the middle of this struggle between gods and mortals.
Right, in the thick of it.
I'm particularly intrigued by Shiny.
Okay.
This powerful godling connected to the Night Lord.
Yes. He's so ruthless, yet capable of surprising acts of kindness.
It's true.
And his cavalier attitude toward death, dying, and coming back multiple times.
Right.
It's almost like he's playing a game.
It's almost like it doesn't matter to him.
Shiny's approach to life and death is definitely unique.
Oh, yeah.
And it contrasts sharply with other godlings, like Madding.
Yes.
Who was Ori's lover for a time.
That's right.
It makes you think about how different beings reconcile their immortality with the fragility of mortal life.
Interesting question.
And then there's the mask.
Oh.
This mysterious artifact connected to the god Kal.
Yes.
It's like something out of a nightmare.
It really is.
Transforming mortals into uncontrollable weapons.
Right.
Threatening both gods and mortals alike.
Gods and mortals.
What do you make of Kal's motivation?
I don't know.
Why create something so dangerous?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kal is a master manipulator working from the shadows.
The mask seems to be just one piece of his grand scheme.
Right.
And it's terrifying to think what he might be planning.
Absolutely.
Who knows what he's up to?
Yeah. It feels like this world is on the brink of something big.
Yeah.
We've got the Arameri family facing internal conflicts and external threats.
Right.
The gods are stirring. Mortals are gaining power.
Yeah.
It's all building towards some kind of climax, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And you picked out some excerpts that really highlight that.
Yeah.
Rimath, the Arameri matriarch,
right,
embodies the old ways that ruthless pragmatism they're known for.
Okay.
But then there's Shahar, her heir.
Right.
She seems to be questioning things, exploring different approaches to leadership.
It makes you wonder if change is possible within the Arameri.
Yeah.
Can they break free from those deeply ingrained patterns of control and domination?
It's hard to say.
And what about Sia?
Yeah.
His transformation is incredible.
It is.
He's actually losing his immortality, becoming more and more human.
It's a huge shift.
What do you think is that changing his perspective on things?
It must be... Imagine experiencing mortality firsthand after eons of godhood.
Wow.
He's facing the same limitations, the same fears, the same joys and sorrows as the mortals he once ruled over.
It's amazing.
How could that not change?
It reminds me of something you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That question of whether a god can truly understand mortality without experience.
It's a fundamental question.
And then there's Yang.
Right.
Caught between her Arameri and Enifade heritage, between the gods and mortals, her choices could reshape this entire world.
Absolutely.
What stood out to you about her journey in the excerpts you read?
You know, you highlighted that shocking revelation about Enefa's death.
Right.
She didn't attack Itempes as the priests claim, did she?
Yeah, it seems like.
It was Itempes who killed her.
Wow.
And in doing so, he took a piece of her soul, the Stone of Earth.
Okay.
That changes everything.
It definitely casts Itempes in a different light.
It does.
He's not just this benevolent god of light anymore.
Right.
He's capable of violence, of deception, of holding on to power at any cost.
Yeah.
It makes you rethink his role in the God's War, doesn't it?
For sure it does. And it explains Nahadolf's rage.
Right.
Imagine losing the one you love.
Yeah.
Having a piece of their essence ripped away.
I can't even imagine.
His hatred for Itempes makes a lot more sense now.
Okay.
But going back to Yane.
Right.
I think her struggle is about more than just choosing sides. She's trying to forge her own path to create a world where gods and mortals can coexist without oppression or violence.
It's a noble goal.
Do you think that's even possible in this world?
It's a tough question.
It is.
The excerpts you chose really highlight the long history of conflict.
Yeah.
The deep-seated resentment between the Enifade and the Arameri. The manipulation of power grabs by the gods.
Right.
It feels almost inevitable that this will all erupt again.
It's a powder keg.
But Yin, with her unique perspective, her connection to both sides, maybe she represents a chance for something different.
Maybe.
What do you think, as the reader, are the biggest obstacles she faces?
Well, for one, she's dealing with the legacy of the Gods' War.
True.
We get glimpses of it through different characters' memories, and it paints a picture of unimaginable destruction and betrayal.
Wow.
Remember Saya's account of his own role in the war.
Yeah.
He admits to his past ruthlessness, hinting at a transformation in his understanding of life and death.
It's almost like he's looking back on his past self with regret, recognizing the consequences of his actions.
I think so.
It adds another layer to his character, doesn't it?
It does.
He's not just this wise, gentle God.
Right.
He's made mistakes, he's caused pain, and he's carrying that burden with him.
He's carrying a lot.
Yeah.
And it contrasts sharply with the official version of the Gods' War.
Okay.
The one the priests tell, where Anifa is the villain. It highlights the Arameri's control over information, their manipulation of history to suit their agenda.
It's scary how much power they have.
It is.
But Ori's experiences in shadow
yeah.
offer a different perspective on them.
They do.
You're right. Her story shows us the lingering effects of the war, the prejudice against the Morona,
right.
the uneasy coexistence between mortals and godlings.
Right.
It's a world where survival depends on forming alliance.
Yeah.
Often with those you wouldn't expect.
Absolutely.
Like her relationship with Shiny, for example.
That's such a fascinating dynamic.
It is.
He's this incredibly powerful, dangerous godling.
Right.
Prone to violence and recklessness.
Yeah.
Yet he protects of his work. Ori even risks his own life for her.
It's amazing.
It challenges those clear-cut distinctions between good and evil, between God and mortal.
And the way he slaughters those order keepers in the alley.
Oh, yeah. It's brutal.
You see the raw power he possesses.
Just terrifying.
The casualness with which he uses it.
Right.
It's both terrifying and, dare I say, a little thrilling.
I can see that.
But that act has serious consequences, right?
Of course, it draws the attention of other godlings.
Including Saya, well.
And it forces Ori to confront the ethical implications of her association with Shiny.
Yeah.
She's struggling with her own sense of morality.
Right.
Trying to reconcile her affection for him with his capacity for violence.
And then there's that shocking revelation about Ori herself.
Oh, right. You're talking about her being a demon.
Yeah.
It explains so much. Her unique abilities, her blindness, her resilience.
Right.
But it also makes her a target.
Okay.
For those who fear and hate demons.
Right, like her encounter with Date, the leader of the Lights.
Yeah.
He wants to use her, exploit her demonhood for his own purposes.
It's disturbing how quickly he dismisses her as a person.
It is.
Reducing her to a tool to be manipulated.
Right.
And it mirrors the Arameri's approach to the Anafade.
Yeah.
To the gods themselves.
It's all about power.
It raises questions about the nature of power.
Okay.
But the dangers of seeing others as mere instruments.
Right.
To achieve your goals.
It's a good point.
It's interesting how Shiny reacts to Ori's demonhood.
Yeah. What did you think about that?
He's horrified at first, even suggests she should have been killed.
Right.
But as he spends more time with her, he begins to understand her struggles.
Why?
Her compassion, her strength.
So maybe he's capable of change too.
It's possible he's witnessing firsthand the complexities of mortality, the nuances of good and evil.
Right.
And it's forcing him to confront his own preconceived notions, his own capacity for both cruelty and kindness.
It sounds like Shiny's transformation.
Yeah.
In a way mirrors Sai's.
They're both on a journey.
Both are coming to terms with the value of empathy, of connection.
Absolutely.
Of seeing beyond the surface.
And then the climax of Ori's story.
Right, the ending.
It's a whirlwind of action and revelation.
It is.
We see the full destructive power of the mask, the chaos unleashed by Call, and the emergence of a new Enefa, a full-fledged god.
Wow.
It's almost overwhelming.
You're right. It's a pivotal moment,
a
turning point for so many characters.
Definitely.
And Ori confronting Itempus.
Oh, yeah.
Challenging his actions and his entire worldview. That scene is incredibly powerful.
She sees through his facade of order and control.
It's like she can see right through him.
Recognizes the loneliness, the pain that drives him.
Sad in a way.
It's a clash between two fundamentally different perspectives.
Right.
The god who seeks to impose his will on the world, and the mortal who embraces chaos and change.
And in that moment, Ori embodies a kind of defiance.
Yes.
A refusal to be controlled by the gods or anyone else.
Absolutely.
She's claiming her own agency, her own right to exist.
Or right to be.
Even with all the darkness and pain that comes with it.
But what about the fallout?
Right? What happens after?
Sky, the Arameri's ancestral home, is destroyed.
Wow.
Yin ascends to godhood. But she seems conflicted, uncertain about her role in this new world.
And Remath,
the
Arameri matriarch, survives.
He does.
It's surprising that Yane spares her life.
It is.
It suggests a level of compassion. Of understanding that we haven't seen from her before.
Right.
Do you think her time among mortals, her connection with Saya, has changed her?
I think it has. She's witnessed firsthand the consequences of unchecked power, the fragility of life, the importance of empathy.
It's a lot to take in.
And perhaps in sparing Remath, she's offering a chance for redemption.
Okay.
A chance for the Arameri to break free from their destructive past.
Oh, what about Saya?
Yeah.
What happens to him after all of this?
His ending is both heartbreaking and hopeful.
Oh, wow.
He's losing his immortality, becoming fully human.
Okay.
But in doing so, he's gaining a deeper understanding of love, of loss, of the preciousness of life.
So bittersweet.
His relationship with Shahar, as messy and complicated as it is, speaks to that transformation.
Yeah.
It's a testament to his capacity for love, for connection, for vulnerability.
Yeah.
And in choosing to remain in the mortal realm, he's rejecting the old ways.
Right.
The hierarchies and power struggles that have defined his existence for so long.
He's choosing a different path.
He's embracing a new path, one grounded in empathy and connection.
Yeah, it really does feel like Saya's story really encapsulates the central theme of these excerpts that you shared.
Right.
The shifting nature of power.
Absolutely.
The blurred lines between godhood and mortality, and the possibility of change, even redemption.
It does, doesn't it? And his choice to embrace his human side, to stay in the mortal realm.
Yeah.
It challenges our very definition of what it means to be a god.
It really does.
Is it about power immortality or something more?
Right.
Something like empathy, connection, the willingness to be vulnerable.
You know, one thing that struck me as we were going through these excerpts is the sheer complexity of these characters.
Oh, absolutely.
There are no easy answers.
Hello.
No clear-cut heroes and villains.
Right.
Even the gods are flawed.
Yeah.
Capable of both great acts of kindness and terrible cruelty.
It's true. That's what makes this world so compelling. It forces us to confront our own assumptions about good and evil, about power and morality.
Right.
It asks us to consider those gray areas, the difficult choices we might make when the lines are blurred, when even the gods can be broken.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from the Arameri's ruthless pursuit of control to the struggles of mortals like Ori, from the complex relationships between gods and mortals to the ever-present threat of chaos and destruction.
It's a lot.
What stands out to you as the reader as the most impactful element of this?
For me, it's the idea that power is a double-edged sword.
Okay.
It can be used for good or for evil, for creation or for destruction. And the characters in these excerpts, they're all grappling with that duality.
Okay.
Making choices, facing consequences, and ultimately shaping the fate of their world.
And it makes you think about the choices we make in our own lives.
And it does.
Even when we don't have godlike powers to wield.
Right.
How do we navigate those complexities, those moral dilemmas?
Yes, it's a question we all face.
What do we do when faced with seemingly impossible odds?
Those are questions that the Inheritance trilogy explores in such a profound way.
Yeah.
And it leaves us as readers to ponder those questions, grapple with them, perhaps to find our own answers within ourselves.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
Through a world rich with lore, intrigue, and characters who stay with you long after you finish reading.
They really do.
We've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, just a glimpse.
But hopefully this deep dive has given you a taste of what this world has to offer.
And I hope it inspires you to keep exploring, to delve deeper into the Inheritance trilogy. And uncover the secrets that still lie hidden within its pages.
Until next time, keep diving, keep questioning.
Keep searching.
Keep seeking those hidden depths.